Welcome to the Titans vs. the NFL podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about impressions from last week, expectations for this week. We're going to read you the best tweets from Tennessee. We're going to update you on the roster, and we're going to tell you what Vegas thinks that the Titans' odds of winning are against Cincinnati. So, Tom, what are your impressions of last week?
Absolutely terrible. I think we played one of the worst games I've seen as a Titans fan because I'm only 20, so I only remember really the past 7 or 8 years. And it was not a good game. I mean, Tannehill was sloppy, couldn't get the ball out in time. A lot of that is due to his offensive line, but at the same time, a lot of the pressure's on the quarterback to bring up those around you, including the offensive line. And there was so many crucial plays that if we had back, I think we really could have maybe stole the game, because that was a game where we were the underdog, even without the Browns having Nick Chubb. And it was just an ugly game. I know, like, on a third down, Traylon Burks had a missed open catch on the sideline for 40 yards. That was a bad one. I mean, Derrick Henry couldn't go anywhere. For the first half, he had -6 yards. It was an ugly game. The only thing that was consistent was our rush defense and then our passing defense getting absolutely destroyed through the air.
That's the thing that I saw a lot of people talking about. Traylon Burks or Ryan Tannehill's throw was being inaccurate on the plays that Traylon Burks was open, but then he also had several drop catches, and we let up so many sacks. Again, Tannehill does not seem as mobile as he used to, but there's still some time to see if that's the case or it is just the line. And actually, that was the first time where Derrick Henry, in my opinion, if you're a Titans fan, you know he's a second half runner, but he just never, ever got it going. And again, he only got 15 carries, about.
Yeah, but you also, even though he is a second half runner, and I think they should have gave him more carries, you can't do that. You can't keep going to something that's not working, especially when it didn't work 15 times in a row. If there was flashes, maybe a 20-yard run in there, a 30-yard run in there, I think they would start to pick that up, but there was literally nothing to be proud of with that. I think the only time that they even got yards was like a bounce to the outside, and it was for 8 yards on a run, and that was literally it. Apart from that, Derrick Henry went absolutely nowhere, and I think a big part of that is because of the defensive coordinator for the Browns. Jim Schwartz used to be on the Titans. I'm not familiar with his position, but he was on the Titans in some offensive scheme, so he knows a lot of the things you run, and he knows how to stop Derrick Henry, and clearly he showed it.
And on the 8-yard bounce out to the side that you mentioned by Henry, I was actually watching some film on it, and it was a blown-up play. It was because the guard couldn't block. The play got blown up, so he had to bounce it out. That shows Henry's skill, but again, it's like the overall run game last week was atrocious, and yeah, that might have to do with a little bit of inside knowledge with the coaching staff of the Browns. Who was your biggest letdown of last week, and also what was your, as a Titan fan, proud moment of the week?
Yeah, my biggest letdown, I would have to say, was Derrick Henry, just because we're so used to seeing him even with a bad offensive line. I mean, we've never had a good offensive line except for 2019 in the AFC Championship run. But even the year where he went for 2,000 yards, that was Terrell Lewan tore his ACL week 3. So he's always had a beat up offensive line, but he's always made it work. And I guess maybe you could start to see some age playing a factor here where he needs people to clear the way for him. I guess we'll see this week, but I think he's going to be coming in this week pretty angry.
Yeah.
And I would say my biggest win for this week was once again that rush defense with Jeffrey Simmons, Autry up front, T.R. Tart. I know he's a little bit hurt last game, but he's doing good. Harold Landry and Arden Key. I mean, that line is so solid, and I really can't see a running back put up crazy numbers against us, especially because we faced Joshua Kelly, who's Austin Eckler's backup, and he came off a 100-yard rushing week, came to us, had 37 yards.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams, a really great back. He had 1,000 yards last year, only got 46 against us on 17 carries. I mean, that defensive line is holding up really well. If the defensive pieces behind them, with SMB and Christian Fulton and Roger McCreary, if they can really step up, then I'm not worried about our defense at all.
Yeah, my biggest letdown from last week also was Henry, because like I said, I'm always telling you whenever we're watching the games, oh, we got a lot of time left. Second half team in general. And that didn't happen, so I was really let down. But I would say my biggest win for the week was SMB, because he had that amazing strip on the sideline to the out route. I forget what the receiver of the Browns was.
It was Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore. They threw it to Elijah Moore, and it was a two-man tackle, but he ripped out the ball. I think this was early in the either first quarter or second quarter. But it was such a good football play, and I feel like every week he's getting better and better. Now we'll talk about the stats in a little bit. The defensive backs didn't do well overall, but that was my win. That strip fumble was really a big win for me as a Titans fan. So now we're going to read you the best tweets from Tennessee this week. We have one tweet this week where a Titan cursed at a reporter and then deleted it. And we also have 2 funny fan tweets, both of them about the offensive line. And we have one recommended Twitter page we think you should follow if you want to be a better Tennessee Titan fan. So Tom, what is the Tennessee Titan tweet of the week?
Oh yeah, so in my opinion, the top Tennessee Titan tweet of the week is by Jeffrey Simmons right after the game. Paul Kuwarski, a very infamous reporter for the Titans, not liked amongst fans, amongst players. Former left tackle Taylor Lewan has a lot of beef with Paul, always throws shots at him on his podcast. Not a lot of people like him. He did a post-game interview with Jeffrey Simmons and then didn't like Jeffrey's answer. And instead of talking to him about it, made like a little subtweet saying, don't like the answer here from this leader. Let's see if it holds up. And then so Jeffrey Simmons responded to that tweet and said, shut up, Paul, please. There's no effing excuses. I'm a man. I take full responsibility because I'm a leader and a man. Stop doing all this behind the keyboard. You see me in the locker room every day.
What's your take on that? So first of all, do you think it's okay for a guy like Jeffrey Simmons, who's a leader, to go ahead and curse on Twitter? What's your opinion?
I think it's fine. I mean, nobody is his dad on Twitter. He's a grown man. He's not wrong. He could do whatever he wants, and he just got paid $4 million over $90 million for 4 years. So he has the money to do it. It's not like he's gonna miss out on a contract. But I think it shows team turmoil a lot of the time. I think it shows this locker room is not confident, but a little bit dazed and confused from the loss. So that worries me a little bit, just because most of the time you wouldn't take time to respond to trolls, even if it's a reporter for your own team.
Okay.
So I don't know if I like that aspect of it, but I do like the idea of standing up for yourself. And so I don't know if I'm against it or for it, but I do have some opinions on it.
Well, I think, one, the fact that he cursed, I think that shows human. He's a human, and I like that, because as a fan, it's he's not, obviously these guys are mega stars, in Tennessee, and he's one of the best in the game, and you get to see him show real raw emotion, not at a press conference where he can't say certain, he's showed himself, and as a fan, I like that, because now he's human, and he's emotional. We're all emotional about the Titans right now. We're starting off 1-2, and it's frustrating. He showed his frustration, and so I like the fact. Here's my opinion on why he deleted it. I'm gonna assume that it could be one or two things. One, he was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe that's not good for the younger fans to have my tweet up there. I have fans of all ages following me. They don't need to see me cursing. And that could have just been a delete on his end, or his publicist saying hey man, delete this. It doesn't look good for the Jeffrey Simmons image. In the second case, I hope it's the second case actually, because then it's if he's come on, no, I want to keep it up. My fans like to see the realness. People like me, I think I kind of hope it's a second one.
See, I think it's a completely different route than either of those two. I think it's the old AJ Brown, where you tweet something out knowing that there are a few fans that have on Twitter notifications, so they'll get that tweet to their phone. So you could delete it right after, and somebody will have it screenshotted. And you make it a point for it to be screenshotted so people see it, but not so you could be held accountable going forward with it. So I think he tweeted that knowing it would get screenshotted and shared around, and Paul would see it, but he doesn't have to keep it up directly saying, yo, come see me. And AJ Brown did it a lot. He would tweet out things of his mind before the draft when he was traded, how he was being disrespected, and then delete it. And everyone's like, yo, what is this? And it obviously was true.
That makes sense, because then it also adds an air of mystery to what he said.
Exactly.
Because you can't just go to his page and find it. Where is it? Where do we get this tweet?
Search for it through different threads and different tweets. Yeah, I think so.
All right, cool. All right, so now on to the funny fan tweet of the week. Tom, what's your funny fan tweet this week?
Yeah, so this comes from a comment from an interview coming from Andre Dillard, left tackle for the Titans. Jim Wyatt did the interview. It was a post-game interview, just explaining kind of how the loss went. And so the quote, the caption reads of Jim Wyatt's tweet: Titans left tackle Andre Dillard in the locker room after Sunday's loss. And it's just Andre Dillard talking a little bit, explaining what went wrong and how he's upset. keep in mind, Andre Dillard allowed 3.5 sacks this past game. So an ugly game.
And he has the most allowed
sacks in the NFL so far. Exactly. So not great. And my funny tweet comes from at DJ from Nolo. He said, "Can he stay in that locker room?" And I thought it was just funny because I was just spur of the moment reading through tweets and it made me laugh. And I could see where he's coming from because he has not been playing good. And I know a big comparison last year, Dennis Daly, who was awful at left tackle. And right now, Andre Dillard is on track to allow, I think, 34 sacks, which is just unreal. That's like 2 sacks a game.
Okay, so my funny fan tweet of the week is Jim Wyatt also tweeted out. He said the Titans have signed safety Dane Cruikshank to the team's practice squad. Cruikshank was a 2018 draft pick of the Titans who played from 2018 to 2021 with the team. And then at Titans111 responded, "That will fix the offensive line for sure." And I thought that was funny because it's like, yeah, it's funny to hear news about anything that's not the offensive line because obviously that is our weakest point right now. But it's also kind of funny because I don't think that most fans realize how bad the defensive backs did last week. Now, I saw a tweet from a guy. I'm not too sure if I like him yet.
I actually know this guy.
Jake Roberts.
I like him. I follow him
you
personally.
Do?
Yeah.
Okay. So, he posted this tweet that I read the stats of the defensive backs from last game, and it was so surprising. Christian Fulton allowed 4 catches on 4 targets, all to Amari Cooper, and for a touchdown. SMB allowed 3 catches on 4 targets for 7 yards. Roger McCreary allowed 8 catches on 9 targets for 80 yards. When I saw this stat, I was just like blown away because that's almost worse than the offensive line letting up how many total sacks?
Oh, it was abysmal. I think it was like 9.
I get the fans saying, "Oh yeah, signing another DB, that's going to help the offensive line for sure." Is funny because we do need help with the offensive line. But then also, I don't think most fans realize how bad our corners did, and we can use all the help we can get. And that's why I wanted to highlight that one. So what is the recommended Tennessee Titan Twitter page this week?
Yeah, so I would give it to at Mike Erndon NFL. I could be messing the pronunciation there, so I'll give it a spell. It's at Mike, Mike, Herndon, Herndon NFL.
So why do you recommend him?
Yeah, so I think he's just a really good Twitter personality. He's a big NFL Titans fan, and he also provides a lot of interesting statistics. And then every now and then he'll throw out like a funny statistic like, "Oh, Derrick Henry only needs 8,000 yards this week to eclipse Barry Sanders' all-time rushing record." And it's just like you start off reading, you're like, "Oh, what can he break?" And then you just start laughing. You're like, "Oh, okay, it was just a good joke." But he just provides a lot of funny statistics, a lot of interesting statistics, and he's very trusted among the Titan community, at least on Twitter. And yeah, I look to him a lot for different tweets and different things that I'm looking for.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Now we're going to tell you which Tennessee Titans have been traded, signed, and injured so you can know who to watch in Sunday's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, so Tom, who was signed this week to the Titans?
Yeah, so wide receiver Shi Smith was signed to the practice squad. Now, obviously he's not a big name talent, but he has had flashes on different teams. And signing him to the practice squad allows you to have that extra man just in case Treylon Burks or DeAndre Hopkins cannot play because they both are questionable.
Got it. Okay. And the second guy is Dane Cruikshank. Now, I really like Dane Cruikshank because I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he actually caught a 66-yard touchdown pass from Kevin Byard back in 2018. Also, he's blocked a field goal and he's blocked an extra point all as a Titan. And he's a safety. He's a pretty big safety. He's about 6'1", and weighs like 210, I think. And he was also signed to the practice squad. What's your opinion on Dane Cruikshank being signed to the practice squad?
I love Dane Cruikshank. I think we should elevate him as soon as we're able to, as soon as he clears all the necessary things. I would even be open to making room for him and cutting someone because what I remember very specifically about Dane Cruikshank is he was a tight end killer. I mean, he locked up any tight end he played against. I remember back in 2019 when we beat the Chiefs in the regular season, he was a big reason we beat the Chiefs. I think he held Travis Kelce to like 40 yards. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because he plays so physical over the top, is that if he sees a tight end or anybody for that matter, but because he's a more like support safety than like a man safety, like Byard's a ball hawk. Byard could line up at corner theoretically. And because Cruikshank doesn't have that in his skill set, I think he plays more over top for like support. And when he sees someone get the ball, he sprints to them and tries to knock everything out of them.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot out of a player, especially on a team like the Titans, because we're a very physical team. Mike Vrabel's a very physical coach, preaches that mentality of get the ball, and you can see it pay off. I see Dean Cruikshank having a lot of really big games, and also he makes our special teams so much better because he may not have a crazy impact like he did in 2018, especially because the average lifespan in the NFL is like 2.5 years. So he's getting old in the NFL, for that matter, and a lot of injuries. Injuries toll up. Obviously, he got cut, so he wasn't, the team that he was on didn't really like him a whole lot, but I like him a lot, and I think he'll make a really big impact on special teams, making a lot of really big tackles, maybe even getting a forced fumble. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, no, I like Dean Cruikshank a lot.
Yeah, I think he's the guy to look out for, and I really hope he gets elevated. We could definitely use all the help we can get.
So also, offensive lineman Justin Murray was promoted to the active roster. He got elevated. I think this is smart by Vrabel, just kind of showing. I think it's more of like showing Titans fans, listen, we're not afraid to make changes in the line. And although it's nice to see them kind of show the team and show us that like we're looking for the best possible players all the time. Because I know a big reason that Titans fans were upset with Vrabel last year is because with the whole Todd Downing situation, he didn't want to make a move during the season. Yeah. And people are like, if you have issues, you fix them during the season, not after the season. So to show that growth, I like that a lot. The only thing I'm worried about is this probably means that offensive linemen, offensive guard specifically, Peter Skoronski, our 11th overall pick this year, will most likely be out. Because that worries me because you wouldn't promote Justin Murray if you're going to have Skoronski there. Or because he is a guard, this would be interesting to see if they maybe give Skoronski a chance at left tackle. Now, I don't know if they'll do it this week, but maybe next week because I don't think he's playing this week. We'll just have to come and see. But Skoronski played left tackle at Northwestern where he went. So we'll see how that works.
So you're saying Justin Murray might be elevated to, might be playing left guard, and in the future, Skoronski
might be playing left tackle, yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, Andre Dillard, not a great left tackle so far, and you want to give other guys a chance to see what they have. Just like when we cut Ben Jones, we gave Aaron Brewer a chance at center, and he's been playing pretty well.
Yeah.
So you really want to see what guys have in their skill set and what they can do, because in my eyes, a good offensive lineman should be able to shift all across the line, because at that end of the day, it's just technique going different ways. You're either, kick stepping left or kick stepping right for right tackle, left tackle. And then at that point, it's just playing inside and outside with different leverages. So I like that a lot. It does worry me because it probably means Skoronski's out, especially because he didn't practice this entire week. So we'll see how that works. But I'm probably better than Andre Dillard. Give me a shot left tackle.
All right. So Tom, what are the injury updates for this week?
Okay. So yes, this report is as of Thursday. This comes from Jim Wyatt, a very notable Titans reporter. He's been covering since the start of the team. So linebacker Luke Gifford had a hamstring injury, did not practice either Wednesday or Thursday. Elijah Molden, hamstring injury. What's new? Also did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Peter Skoronski, left guard, abdomen issue, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Now that abdomen issue, that is a appendicitis. It exploded, and he went to the hospital, got taken care of. I think at this point it's just a feeling of if he can play or not. I don't think it's we need to keep him out. So we'll see how that works. They could just be resting him. Defensive lineman Tier Tart, knee, did not practice on Wednesday, but he did limited participation on Thursday. Okay. So I like Tier Tart. I think he'll play. Traylon Burks, wide receiver, his knee, limited participation on Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. I think he'll play. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins had an ankle issue, limited participation on Thursday, did not practice Wednesday, but it wasn't a did not participate. It was just a didn't practice. So a rest day. He'll play. Danico Autry, defensive lineman, groin issue. Once again, rest day Wednesday, and then limited participation on Thursday. I think he'll play too. Derrick Henry, running back, he had a toe issue. He was rested on Wednesday. It says on the report, toe/rest, and then did not practice on Thursday either. But it's Derrick Henry. He's, in my opinion, doesn't really have to practice. Just let him rest, get him right for the next game.
So if someone's on the injured list, but doesn't have any detail about what they did, that just means they rested, typically.
Exactly.
That's what you were telling me.
Yeah, and one more thing for the Bengals. Tight end Irv Smith, hamstring injury, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. That's really big. Now, obviously, you never want to wish injuries on any player, but if they're injured, you may as well talk about it and discuss the ramifications of it. Now, Irv Smith is a big tight end, and he's been a big target for the Bengals, specifically Joe Burrow, because they are locking up everyone else. I mean, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. So having Irv Smith really opens up a fourth option for one of the best QBs in the league. So him being out would be huge for the Titans if he's able to be out.
And what about Joe Burrow's injury?
Yeah, so Joe Burrow has a calf injury. He was a full participant Wednesday and Thursday. I think he'll play, but I think he'll be a little bit more immobile than usual. Not that he is a mobile quarterback, but I don't think he'll be able to maneuver on the pocket a whole lot. And I think all it's going to take, and I'm not trying to say injure Joe Burrow, but I would be in the lookout for one sack where he comes down on his ankle maybe, and that flares it up, because he's going to be packed with different steroids in his body and whatnot for the game. They're going to shoot him up with some, whatever they got, so that he doesn't feel the pain. But at the end of the day, humans are humans. Yeah. And all it's going to take is one sack. But Jeffrey Simmons, 280 pounds coming on your ankle, that's not going to feel good. I think it'll flare up and maybe limp a little bit. The announcer's going to be like, oh, look at Joe Burrow limping.
He's getting up a little gingerly.
He'll stay in the game, but it's going to be a big impact, I think.
Yeah, and I even saw an interview of Arden Key kind of saying how excited he was to get a chance to come at Joe, because he basically said right now he's moving around like an old man.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly that's what he said, but
listen,
he said something
if I was Joe
Burrow,
I would sit out. That's scary. If someone says I'm excited to come at them because I see they're moving slow, like they're pointing out my weaknesses, I'm not playing against them. That's terrifying.
That's the line like the Titans. The thing is, I think this week we really have to get the quarterback, whether it's Joe Burrow or anyone else.
It's a must. It's an absolute must, yeah. So now we're going to tell you what Vegas thinks Titans' chances are winning this week
and some key bets to look out for.
Obviously, nothing we say is betting advice, so at your own risk always, but this is just something that we like. Okay, so right now, the Titans are plus 2.5. That means the Titans need to lose by 2 or less or win outright for that to hit. On the inverse, the Bengals are minus 2.5, which means the Bengals need to win by 3 points or more for that to hit. The Titans to win outright are plus 124. That means if you bet $100, you would make $124 to return you $224. The over and under, it's over/under 41 points. So that means Vegas thinks that the Bengals and Titans have a good chance of scoring around 41 points. That's up to you to make that pick together.
So the over/under for total points
is 41.
41 this week. Bengals and Titans.
Okay, so right now we have a same game parlay that we personally made. Obviously, nothing we say is betting advice, so at your own risk always. Okay, so the full total parlay is Joe Mixon under 56.5 rushing yards, Chigozie Okonkwo anytime touchdown scorer, Derrick Henry plus 50 yards rushing. The odds for that are plus 984, meaning a $100 bet would net you $984 in profit. Yeah, I like that bet a lot. Okay, so for the same game parlay, Joe Mixon under on rushing yards. His current line for rushing yards is 56.5. Now that could change a little bit, but it won't change too much. The reasoning for that is because the Titans have not allowed more than 50 rushing yards to a running back one this season yet. That is huge. I think they're averaging about 66 yards in the rush. They're allowing about 66 yards in the rush, but that's with quarterback and both halfbacks.
Total.
Rushing
yards per game, 66.
So they haven't allowed more than 50 rushing yards to a running back one. And they've played some solid running back ones, like Jamal Williams. Josh Kelly had the step-up game, and he had like 100 yards the game before that. So, I mean, they're playing some good running backs, especially Jerome Ford, who stepped up against the Steelers. They got some good running backs they played against, and they have not allowed more than 50 rushing yards yet. So I like that one right there. So the second part of the bet, the second leg of the bet, is Chigozie Okonkwo anytime touchdown scorer. Now, this means if he scores a touchdown at any time in the game with 2 seconds left in the game, it hits. It could be a rushing touchdown. It could be a receiving touchdown. Anytime he gets the ball into the end zone himself, that is going to hit. Now, the big reason for that is because he has not had a touchdown yet. Last year, he wasn't a big target, but he did score occasionally. And for a fact the Bengals are going to be looking to stop Derrick Henry, especially on the goal line. Tim Kelly is a very smart offensive coordinator, and he likes to use tight ends a lot, especially young tight ends who have a really big skill set and a big frame to catch a ball through coverage, through pressure. I like Chig for that because Chig is fast. He can play slot. He's a big physical tight end. He can get the ball over someone, and I would look for him on those goal line play action rollouts for the touchdown.
Actually, that does. I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and by a straight bet, he's plus 390, meaning you bet $100, you make $390. Now, obviously, we're doing a parlay, so all these have to hit, but I really like that. Okay, so for the third leg of the bet, I'm doing an alternate rushing line. That's Derrick Henry, 50-plus rushing yards.
Easy.
Now, I think that's just a nice little bet to keep the the odds up to move them up maybe plus 100 more. Because obviously the more you stack things to happen, the more unlikely it is in their eyes. So I think that's just a nice little bet. I'm not looking for Derrick Henry to get 100 something yards. I think he'll have a good game, but I think that Tim Kelly wants to pass a lot more than run. We saw it last week. And I could see Derrick Henry getting 50 rushing yards easily.
Yeah. And I think he's due for a big game, so 50 yards is not out of the range.
Not out of the range at all, yeah. So that's it for the parlay. I would also sprinkle, me personally, I have sprinkled on this, Ryan Tannehill, 3 touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. Now, the only reason I say that is because, once again, Bengals D-line is good. They have Trey Hendrickson. They have a lot of really good players on the defensive line, and I think that they're going to force them to pass. Now, that could still hit. That parlay could still hit. You could do it separately. I personally did it together, just for a little bit of fun, and I didn't put anything crazy on it because, once again, not trying to make millions off this, just trying to have some fun to watch the game. But I like Ryan Tannehill 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think it's risky enough it's risky enough to where it's worth taking the risk.
Okay.
It's not too far fetched. Okay, so now I'll give you some straight bets. Straight bets are things you do not want to parlay because a lot of them could go against each other and could make it seemingly impossible to happen. These are bets you take individually, and then at the end you see how many you got right, essentially. Once again, not betting advice, all of our opinion. Okay, so starting off, I would say Joe Mixon over 20.5 receiving yards. A key thing with betting is you cannot bet with emotion. You can't just think, oh, the Titans are going to lock him up all the time. A lot of times you got to go off statistics, history. So Joe Mixon over 20.5 receiving yards is at minus 114. Now, the reason I say that, and even though I'm a Titans fan, I wouldn't like it to happen. You got to think smart. Joe Mixon is a very good receiving back. Very good receiving back. The Titans' last game to the Browns allowed over 50 receiving yards to running backs. That was to Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt, who are not as good as Joe Mixon in the receiving game. So I think Joe Mixon over 20.5 receiving yards is honestly a freebie, especially on those 3rd and long, 2nd and long screen passes or sideline passes. And Joe Mixon is really good at yak. I think he can turn some things up, especially against our awful defense. So for the second straight bet, I would say Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. This feels like a no-brainer at home against a Bengals D-line that's good, but not better than the Browns. Yeah. He's angry coming off an awful game. There's no denying that. He's only had 1 rush touchdown this year.
Yeah.
And in 3 games, that's not like him at all. He usually scores at least once a game. I could even see him going for 2, but I'm just saying going for 1 to keep it safe. I mean, Derrick Henry is a force to be reckoned with, and that could also be receiving through the air. It doesn't have to just be. The third one I'm going with is Chigoziem Okonkwo over on receiving yards. His line is set at 29.5. Once again, feels like a gimme. I mean, big tight end. You know the Bengals are going to be playing Traylon and DeAndre pretty tight. I would see that third weapon look to be used, and I like Chig a lot. I think 30 yards is not a lot for him to get. So for the next one, I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill over on passing yards. His line is set at 200.5, so he needs to get 201 passing yards. Right now, the Bengals are allowing 200 passing yards through the air per game in the past 3 games. Ryan Tannehill has not had stellar performances, but we're at home. Last time we were at home, we know what happened with the Chargers. Ryan Tannehill had a great game. Threw 20 for 24, about 240 yards, and 2 total touchdowns. So I like Ryan Tannehill at this spot. I think it's, once again, a really good line to go for. The next one I would look at is T. Higgins over on receiving yards. His line is 57.5. So T. Higgins over 57.5 receiving yards. Once again, cannot be biased, but got to be smart. Jamar Chase, very big target. I think the Titans will look to stop Jamar Chase, double covering him, maybe dropping a safety to help out. That leaves someone else open. I think T. Higgins is that big target. He's like 6'4". He's huge. We have no tall corners like that, except for Dane, who's a safety. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, T. Higgins is a solid target. And finally, I would say Titans plus 3.5. I shifted the line. They are plus 2.5. I don't like plus 2.5 ever because it means if they win by a field goal, the bet loses. So I always like to get an extra cushion. So it's essentially Titans either win or lose by a field goal.
Win or lose by a field goal. And what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to win by a field goal?
I think they'll win. But I got to be specific. I would say they're going to win by, I think Titans will take it by 5.
Okay. So Vegas has Cincinnati winning.
Yeah.
We have Tennessee winning.
Yep.
Give me your expectations for Sunday.
Yeah. I would look for a big game from Derrick Henry. Bengals have allowed 150 rushing yards total to running backs this season. Derrick Henry is not a normal running back. Nick Chubb, obviously, unfortunately got injured. But when they played the Bengals week 1, He had like 107 rushing yards. So Bengals and Browns week 1.
Oh, when the Bengals played the Browns week 1. Got it.
He had like 107 rushing yards. So that Bengals D-line, although they're good running backs will get points, will get yards. So I would look for Derrick Henry to have a really big game, especially trying to bounce back from last week. I would also look for the Titans receivers to have a big game. They dropped a lot of passes. That's going to be a big thing in the film room, in the different position group rooms. Catch the ball, go down with it, possession catch. Don't try to get anything crazy if you don't need it. If you can't get it, just get the ball, get down, get those yards. I would also look for the Titans safeties and corners to step up. Once again, they know they had a really bad game. They see the tweets, even if they don't want to. They're still humans. On the plane ride home, they're checking Twitter, seeing, oh man, people are clowning me, saying I'm trash. I got to show them. Titans play best with chip on our shoulders. I think they're going to play really well this week. I don't think they'll allow a ton of yards through the air. At least maybe this is me speaking biased, but especially with Joe Burrow injured or at least playing on a hurt ankle, I think that the Titans line will be able to get to him. I think we'll come away with at least an interception this week. That's my prediction.
Okay, yeah, I also think Henry's due for a big game. He hasn't been rushed a lot this year, especially compared to other seasons. So I think physically he's ready to go and get the game that we're used to seeing him score 2 touchdowns and maybe throw a touchdown pass. Who knows? So I'm expecting big things from Henry, and I'm actually expecting big things from the D-line. I think we didn't really get at quarterbacks the way we've been used to, and that we haven't seen the Jeffrey Simmons celebration the way we have been in past years. So I think watch out for the D-line, watch out for Henry. I also think that we'll take the win, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's by 10. That's kind of my personal projection.
Big bounce back game, especially at home.
A big game at home, especially when everyone's frustrated. Like you said, we play well with the chip on our shoulder, especially for a really physical type of defense that just gets you going. So I think as long as we stay good in terms of the passing defense, like don't make too huge mistakes, then our physicality will allow us.
I think the key is just don't allow big plays. I think you can allow small little plays, especially because small plays rack up, but they do allow for little mistakes, like a pick or a fumble. But those big plays, those one pass, 70 yards, you can't have that. That's unreal.
Who is your player to look out for this week? You want me to tell you mine first?
Yeah, sure.
If he gets elevated, I'm going to say Dane Cruikshank. I don't think they would sign a Titan who's had such a successful special teams career at the safety position with Amani Hooker and with Kevin Byard already there. They must have something cooking up. And so if he gets elevated, I'm saying, as a fan, watch out for him. He's big. He hits hard. He does great things, and he always makes an impact.
So my player to watch this week, I would say, is Roger McCreary. Now, Roger McCreary is a second-year cornerback who drafted in the second round last year, so we had pretty high hopes for him. And he's played pretty well so far, honestly, especially when Christian Fulton was out picking up his slack. But last week he had a really bad game, went 8 for 9 on catches and targets for like 90 yards. So really bad. I mean, they were doing whatever they wanted to him. I think he's going to have a really big bounce back week. I could see him playing because he'll probably play T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. Now, I'm not sure how they're going to run that scheme, but Tyler Boyd's also a really good receiver for the Bengals. And I think that Roger McCreary can make a really big impact on defense.
Every week, we're sending out a free newsletter on Saturday so you can be updated on the Tennessee Titans. So if you want to get that newsletter for free, check the link down below or scan this QR code.